Thank you all very much for coming today. That's extremely good of you. Again, just confirm, my name is Kenneth Bannerman. I'm the head of the Airfields of Britain Conservation Trust, or ABCT as we call it for short, which if you haven't heard of us before, we are essentially the world's first national airfield charity. We're based in Glasgow, where I also live. So we're extremely happy to be here today to unveil our latest memorial, in this case to Hixon Airfield and all the people who very bravely served here. Just to give you the usual quick history before I hand over to the two gentlemen here and why this matters at a bigger picture level. Hixon Airfield, the land was requisitioned in the spring of 1941 and the airfield then opened in May 1942. And by far and away the main unit here was number 30 Operational Training Unit, or OTU for short, that was based here until it transferred in February 1945 to Gamston in Nottinghamshire. This unit primarily flew Vickers Wellingtons on advanced bombing training sorties. Very busy airfield. And it also notably employed a satellite Seifert airfield, where we unveiled a similar memorial to this one back in April of this year. This is in tandem with the local owner, Parish Council, and of course not forgetting the Gliding Club. So this was a very busy airfield during World War II, and it played a very major part in the winning of the conflict. Initially, the OTU was what was called a 3/4 OTU in terms of aircraft strength. But then among so many developments during World War II, there was a significant development in early 1943 when number 25 OTU at very famous Yorkshire airfield Finningley suddenly closed, so that airfield could be redeveloped. And the staff there came to Hixon, and so the OTU here became a full OTU, and this lasted pretty much till not long before the unit relocated to Nottinghamshire. After that, there was another training unit here called number 12 Pilots Advanced Flying Unit, and that came from well-known Lincolnshire airfield Spittlegate near Grantham, but that only lasted a short while and it closed just after World War II and Europe ended. And then for many years after that, Hixon, once having transferred to RAF Maintenance Command from Bomber Command, was then used by number 16 Maintenance Unit for equipment storage. And this lasted until the airfield finally closed in November 1957, and then the land eventually was sold in 1962. So since then, this place not only still remains very tangible, but it also, of course, plays an enormous part in helping everyday society for the betterment of us all, as do all of our airfields, active and disused. And therefore, just final point before I hand over to the gentleman, as we say in our travels, within reason, please do all you possibly can to help save, honour and remember Britain's airfields, active and disused, because they are not only being increasingly, albeit belatedly, recognised as Britain's greatest ever physical, not to mention historical assets, but they are real forces for good. They've won wars, saved lives, helped people, revolutionised everyday society for the betterment of all. And it's almost like a motto in a way for ourselves at ABCT. We say, and Hixon, just for a start, is tremendously appropriate in this sense. Our motto of sorts is jobs, facilities and services. And you think of all the jobs that have been created here, but it's a bit like chicken and egg in a way, because if the airfield hadn't been here in the first place, a lot of people just simply wouldn't have a job. And therefore people, families, the everyday living and what have you. So places like Hixon, Seifert and everywhere else phenomenally important beyond all belief. And we've just got to do so much more to properly recognise them after the tremendous effort, heroism, bravery and sacrifice that's been involved, in this case ever since 1942. So thank you very much for your time, and I'll now hand over to Dr. Garner and Mr. Crane, who'd like to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. I'm Malcolm, for those who don't know, I'm Malcolm Garner, my colleague, Jack Crane, and Joe still lives in the village. I no longer live in the village, but I lived here for 20 years. And I know for a fact that Hixon villagers are very proud of the fact that we have this historical airfield on our doorstep. And in the 1990s, with the local history society, and Tim Moss is the current chairman, we set that up, didn't we, in the 1990s, Tim? And we held some very significant exhibitions in 1992 and 1995 to celebrate the opening, the 50th anniversary of the opening of the airfield, and later the closure. And I'm sure some of you were present for some of those events. And one of the particular ones I remember, I always will remember, was in the 1992 one. We had a Spitfire flypast, and we had a great fun, as well as celebrating it from the sadness point of view and the commemoration of the sacrifices. We also celebrated the fun, because the people who were based here, and we had the privilege of getting to talk to quite a few of them, sadly no longer with us, told us that it was a happy place. They loved being here, and it had a very good vibe, and we had dances and film shows as well, to compensate in a way or balance for the sadness of some of the accidents and fatalities. For over 100 people were killed in training whilst based at Hixon, and we are honoured also to have 5 of those people buried in the churchyard here. So we have 5 Commonwealth war graves in the churchyard. And most recently, we've been able to unveil a memorial stained glass window in the church, and for that we've got the roundel that was on the side of and wings of aircraft in the war as the element for that, for the window. So in a sense we've been celebrating and commemorating and remembering this wonderful history for quite a long time, and this is such a nice addition to that sequence. And Kenneth, we're delighted and grateful to the ABCT for thinking of doing this here, and I feel very honoured, and I think Joe too, in being part of this. Would you like to say just the odd thing, Joe?
This has been thrown at me a little bit, but Malcolm has written a book about RAF. If you haven't seen the book, or you want a copy of the book, get in touch with me. We have some in the hall this morning if you want one. It covers much of the history. There's always more to be added, I'm sure, that Malcolm would say. Malcolm does do talks in and around the country about the history of our office and also the rail crash. So if you want a copy of the book, just come and see me.
I'll pay you later. Thank you. So, while I think to mention it, we're going to do the unveiling in a moment, Kenneth, but after this, immediately after this, in the village hall, there are refreshments available, tea and coffee and biscuits. Don't get too excited, but it'll be nice. And we put a display up of some of the memorabilia relating to the airfield and its events. So please do go to the village hall and come and have a look at that, and we can have an informal chat up there. So if that's okay, Kenneth, we'll move on to the unveiling.
Thank you so much again for all your time and interest, and therefore we're really pleased and honoured to be unveiling this latest memorial to yet another of Britain's absolute top historical and physical assets, in this case the one and only Hixon Airfield. Thank you all very much. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Kenneth. Well done.
Thanks. Thank you. If you'd like to move in, if you want to take photographs or anything, just feel free.
Let me just add one thing, which is how very pleasing it is to see so many representatives from the RAF itself and from the RFA. You have a tremendous history upon which you're founded, and it's really nice, I'm sure you agree, that we've got this very substantial, solid memorial which will be here long after we've all gone. And so thank you all very much for coming. So thank you once again, Kenneth, for your association and for the generosity, this splendid plinth. And just finally, you didn't raise how many of these have you done?
Well, we have two types. I won't bombard you with figures naturally, but we get two types of memorial. But if you include the two of them, this is now our 233rd memorial.
Fantastic.
So we're going as fast as we can with this. This year alone, this is now our 10th memorial. So it's pretty hard work, as you can imagine.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks, thank you. Thanks.
Head up to the village hall.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks for coming down now.